'Cause real men shave. Real men shave their faces. Real men shave their faces.
Good morning, Steve your Daily Shaver. Today I just want to do a quick update. No shaving. The best razor in the world will rust eventually. However, the one blade has got a lifetime guarantee. What does that mean? Under certain circumstances, I could rust this son of a gun, but because it's guaranteed for a lifetime, they'd replace it. Now, this is made out of 3116L stainless steel, military grade VDP, physical vapor disposition. And it is the reason why this coating, if the coating's never perforated, if I don't smash it with a hammer and get through that coating into the stainless, underneath will never interact with air and salts and won't rust. This is probably the best made razor in the world. It has a Teflon coated, just around here, it has a Teflon coated stainless steel spring, and they decide, although it's manufactured in China, this entire razor is actually made out of German high quality steel. This is one hell of a razor. If you're buying an heirloom razor to last a lifetime, this has the build and the shave to go with it. Does that mean you need to buy that? Nope. You can shave really well with the $20 Maggard. I do it all the time. I talk about it. I praise it. I mention it every chance I get. Right? But maybe it's your dad's birthday, which it is, and maybe, you want to upgrade his shave. Well, you can because you love him. You do to him what he did to you. This is good for you. Do it because I love you. Above the tie, use 303 steel. It's one section of a range of classes steels. If you're into pocket knives, you'll know there's a bunch of other recipes for steel. All these are standards, so that if you order something with that branding, you know that it's been built with those ingredients to that standard. That's all. Steel is like a recipe. There's some steels that are classified. They're used in stealth bombers, right? They're used in space shuttle. They're used in, and it's always been the case. Steel has always been a military grade invention. I mean, back when they were building warships around the turn of the century, the Germans, the Poles, etc., were in an arms race in England, all in an arms race to build better ships. So the steel that went in was your proprietary secret to making a better warship. So that's where our steels came from. Now, if you're going to build a whole warship and you had 9 or 10 factories that were turning out steel, they needed to standardize so you knew exactly what the steel was going to be. Back when they pop riveted bolts, you needed to make sure every pop rivet was made to within a specification that it didn't matter who manufactured it, you could put it into your steel and know that it was going to hold it. This is the original arms war before we went digital into the cyber world. All steels will rust. It matters not how much chromium and palladium and nickel and etc. There's a certain weakness in metal called sulfur. Now, this weakness is a benefit. Sulfur does have a purpose, right? It's not an entirely bad thing. Sulfur's not evil in itself. The lower the sulfur grade, the better the steel, but it has to be replaced by other things because sulfur has a process in steel. Okay, so they go off and use more expensive substances to substitute it and to give the bonding, molecular bonding, better strength. Long story short, all steels will undergo some sort of chemical or coatings for preservation. Now, preservation generally is a chemical process that you would apply to the outside of a razor, and above the tie undergoes some sort of preservation. They all have to. 3116 steel. You have a choice when you're manufacturing it, how you're going to preserve it, how you're going to keep that pristine surface pristine for as long as possible. Now remember, all our old vintage stuff was not made out of steel, it was made out of brass. Now brass is a whole different kettle of fish. Has anyone had brass that's turned green over the time, gets that patina? I have a watch case that does that, I love it. Brass is different, right? So aluminium doesn't rust, it corrodes. Aluminium has to have some sort of preservation, so it just doesn't end up going down your bathroom plug as a bunch of very small particles. Why do some people choose one way of doing things and some people the other? Remember, this mistake occurred because of me. I left a blade in a quality razor, missed it, forgot about it, and when I went back to it, the blade had rusted. The blade got the rust. That rust transmitted, and actually it didn't go into the base, it went into the cap. The reason it didn't go in the base was interesting. The base was firmly pushed against the blade. There was no room for air to get into. On the cap, however, it's curved and there was room for air to interact with the blade. The rust, it just took off. Now, I refer to it as rust. It was mild rust that I and other people would refer to as tea staining. Most of this tea staining is easily removed with a non-scratch scratchy and some white vinegar and some little bit of elbow grease. You've got to use a little bit of elbow grease and you'll clean it all up. Then I had to protect the surface, right? I had to add my own preservation to it. And the cheapest and easiest is any oil. Oil will help any metal resist rust. So what I wanted to get across was good housekeeping, good repair, good maintenance, okay? If you screw up, you'll rust anything. That's my point. I screwed up, I got some rust. I dealt with it. As I said, I managed to fix this myself and didn't need to complain to anybody for 6 months. I just wondered why, because it's not the only time I've left a blade in. You know, I rattled off some blades and then later on I remembered I had gems and I put that up on text over the top, and then I remembered I had injectors and I forgot about that. And man, I've had to get out a couple of injector blades and trust me, they'll rust too. It helps if you have a high quality blade, in the case of the feather artist blades or feather blades even in DEs. They are a more high quality blade. They will take much longer to show rust as opposed to, shall we say, some of our other favourite blades. Now, we all talk about, you know, how good a shave a blade gave you, whether it was soft or smooth or hugged you at night and cuddled up to you. We don't really talk about the fact that blades rust, right? Don't leave them in your razors. Don't forget about them. End of problem. Clean your razor. Put some oil on it to protect. As I said, fish oil is probably about the best one. Hell, you can use olive oil. I know this is a very high quality razor, right? At the moment, $250, $260. If you're going to pay $185 for an above the tie, single edge, I got to say, you know, there's some good competition out there. And Christopher Bailey loves competition. I hope he's had a shave with one of these. I don't remember seeing you, Chris, shaving with one. But this isn't aimed at Chris particularly. He's just the lucky son of a bitch who's managed to get the Colonial Colonel or whatever it's called and the above the tie. And cheers to you, mate. If you're watching this, lucky you. Wish it was me. Jealousy. No, not really jealous. I like your videos. And I'm not knocking above the tie. Stan has done me some solids in the past. I just discovered, to my own that one of my favourite razors wasn't made out of the highest grade possible. You know, there's better steels in the United States. There's better preservation techniques that you can apply. Everything adds more money. Look, that's just about it. I made a mistake. It was my mistake. I own it. You can't trust a cheap blade to be forgotten in your razor. That's the takeaway. If you buy a premium razor, you need to take a little bit more care. It helps if razor blades were made better, but then they might cost 30 cents or 50 cents or $1, and then people will complain. Look, if this all gets too complicated, we can all go back to fusions. It's not like Gillette stopped making them.
Bearded man, you think that you're so cool, but your face looks like a small marsupial.